This book points at certain areas of family life that is often being downplayed and not talked about, which in reality requires to be discussed often. And this is the point I will leverage on in this review. Hello co-host, how are you doing? Welcome back to another review with TellnotorTellasis. Today we are gonna review Harry's new memoir, Despair. I finally read it. Yes, it took me a long time to actually read it because of busy life schedule, this and that. You know how London is, but I did read it, and I will try my best to make this review really short, but I'm gonna bring in the review on a different perspective based on my own view. It will be a little bit different from other people's point of view. So make sure you don't skip any part of this review. If this is your first time finding my channel and this is your first time watching any of my review, thank you, you're welcome. Please subscribe and put on the notification bell so that you will get alert whenever I post new video. And don't forget to hit that like button and share this video. Remember, do not skip anything because you will learn a lot from the points I picked out from this book that I will use to make this review. I'm sure you must have heard that this book was written by a ghostwriter. His name is J.R. Moringa. He's a professional writer, very good in his craft. So you can check him out and read more about him. In case you don't know what a ghostwriter is, a ghostwriter is typically somebody that writes somebody's memoir for them. So typically the person tells the person the story. He's an experienced writer, well known in his craft, and then he will be told the story. The person in question will narrate the story for him and he will present it to others just exactly how it is. This is what a ghostwriter is. I don't know if I explained it very well, but I think I try my best. Anyways, the writing technique of the book Despair. The writing technique of the book Despair, in my own view, is wonderfully amazing. I love it. I love the way everything was clearly portrayed. Yeah, at some point he couldn't elaborate on some of the stories, maybe because that is the level of clarity that he got from Harry, but nevertheless he tried his best to do a great work, in as much as it's giving you a true picture, a true image of what Harry was trying to portray. It still brings fun, it still brings clarity, it still brings poetry, it still brings Shakespeare, it brings figurative speech, it brings all sorts of, it borrowed all sorts of things that you can talk about that makes up a good memoir. So the technique is really quite good. It was released on the 10th of January. So yeah, since the release, it had sold over 3.2 million copies. Of course, it's a buzz. It's a buzz in the town. Everybody was like waiting to grab it. I was wondering, why are we really so curious to read Harry's book? Because we all are waiting to hear something. We all are waiting to hear something. That was the reason why we all grabbed our claws on that book. In fairness, the composure of the book was very wicked because Harry went all out in all shades of vulnerability. He left it all bare on the table. The fun, the drama, the stupidity, the loss, the goofiness, the hallucination. That hallucination part took me out because he actually mentioned that he smokes lots of weed, a lot of it. So half of the time he hallucinates, he talks to the beings, you know, everything you can think of. He just left it bare, nothing hidden. Before we crack on, the question for today is, what was your expectation versus the impression you got about this book, Despair? Leave your answers at the comment section before we crack on. Everything in that book is expected, but I felt that it is actually good that he wrote this book because just like myself, I had a different perception about the whole situation after reading this book. For example, I was really angry how they still go on about you know, collecting huge sum of money to make these Netflix docuseries and write this book when he personally wants to stay private. I was like, this is not private. But reading this book made me see the reason why, and I will come to that later. These people, the royals, they are normal human beings like us, with blood flowing through their veins, just like I and you. But the fact is, in as much as we have simple life, you know, and we enjoy all the things that we want to enjoy whenever we want to enjoy it, except the ones we cannot afford, these people, even though they can afford almost anything they want, but they can't do anything they want. We are free, but they are not. Even though they live in that so-called palace. But what if that so-called palace is a glorified prison where you are not free to do whatever you want to do? You are not free to go anywhere at any time you want, because the press will be chasing after you. You have to be calculating your every move because you don't want to appear on the pages of newspaper or be a disgrace to your family or disgrace the crown or something like that. How will you feel? At this point, yes, you will be enjoying the, you know, the famousness or whatever, the publicity, but then at some point it gets really too much. From the book, it portrayed almost from the beginning to the end Harry's continuous psychological battle with his head. He called it memory lies. He was constantly talking to himself. He was constantly imagining things on his own and asking questions that definitely nobody is answering him, and he is not even bothering to ask anybody. He tries to figure things out by himself. You can imagine how difficult this can be, and he started this right from the time he was a boy. I also really wondered what will happen if Queen was really alive to read Harry's book or to hear about it. But I think she would not be surprised, because I feel like she knows Harry. I feel she knows Harry can be somewhat daring. Besides, she has seen a lot worse than this drama. However, I do agree that due to age, it will hit her differently. The late Queen Elizabeth ascended the throne at a very young age. She had to abide by all these rules guiding the monarch till old age. So I kept imagining, like, they must have drilled the hell out of her to give her that persona. But she did it well. She held it together until her old age. She is really a strong woman, a queen indeed. You know, that enduring quality of hers is what makes or breaks a true and strong leader. But she lived it all. She embodied it. Because people like me, I cannot do it. I will literally wake up one day and start screaming. Anyway, that's the reason why that nature didn't put me there as part of that family. But the fact that she was able to do it, it does not mean that the rest of the royals can do it. Every new generation comes with a change in character traits. This is another generation. Harry was simply unable to handle the press because he processed the whole actions way differently from the rest of the family members. But his family members expected him to handle it because they went through it too. This is abuse of cycle. Here again is a typical thing you see among all of our families today. Most times, family members feel like it's okay for others to experience their own bad experience before something will be done about it. My view is, if there is a little way for you to reverse that abusive cycle, apply it. Do not wait for every other person to experience it because it may destroy someone. This needs to change across families because this is what love and unity is. Do you remember in the past when the now King Charles was caught in the middle, just like Harry. He spoke a lot, gave access to his personal journals and many more. Same goes for late Princess Diana. The buzz was everywhere. I do not think either of them did it for a ransom. I just feel like it was too much for both of them to keep holding in. Therefore, they started talking to the press. Due to the unpopularity of social media then, some of these stories were easier to be stopped. This led to the then questioning of King Charles's eligibility of becoming the future king. I brought this back in here to portray the fact that there are normal human beings with feelings, because sometimes they need to express themselves by speaking out, which is sometimes the best way for healing, for mental health, which is something that is not mostly talked about in families today. Harry is not the first to do this. So have a rethink about you calling him a privileged child for bringing this story to the public, that it's betrayal of family trust. Look at the story that brought it about. I felt like you at some point, but when I read the book, I realized what happened. He was unemployable. He has no specific craft because he pledged loyalty to his family, and the crown is supposed to take care of him and his brother. That may look like radical or like a family betrayal, but is it right or wrong? Judge it how you feel, because I simply feel like he has to make a living somehow for himself and for his family. Let's talk about Prince William and Duchess Kate, the way Harry made them come across in the book. This is where I don't like how Harry portrayed some of the narratives, and this is what I see that attracted some of the negative comments against Harry, because the way he come across in the book, he kind of assumed what his brother was thinking in his mind, which from his narration you can't categorically say that this is what Prince William meant in his heart, because he did not speak out. He hasn't said anything. Him and Duchess Kate had been completely quiet since the whole buzz and saga of Prince Harry and Kate and Meghan had been going around. And this is where I commend that motto, do not speak, do not complain, because I believe that this is why they are able to keep quiet, to respect that crown motto. Assuming both of them open their mouth and start defending themselves to say their own part of the story, which is exactly what Harry is doing by writing this book and by all the other products that he is putting out, apart from trying to source a source of living. You will see that it's gonna be an endless saga, but thankfully they were able to keep quiet and maintain their silence, so the whole thing is gonna die down. The reason why you see Harry doing this is, again, the effect of suppressing emotions for a long period of time. For example, when he made the same point about his father, right, he was still certain, he ascertained, like he was sure that this was what his father was thinking about. So there is this tendency that it's possible that he is right about what he's saying about his siblings, because it is highly possible. And again, it is also highly possible that it is not true, because he never asked them. There's no place in the book that he said that he confronted his brother or his father and said, why are you doing this? Why are you making this decision? Is it just because of this? I need further explanation. And that was not portrayed anywhere in the book. And this is what families need to watch out for, because this happens all the time in families, where people assume things about their siblings and they start spreading negative news about their siblings everywhere. Meanwhile, they haven't had conversation. There are so many ways this happens in families. Some people talk about it, they don't accept. Some people never actually talk about it. They just carry news based on assumption, and the people they told this news will completely assume this person, oh, this is how you are. All this is a byproduct of lack of mental health education, lack of seeking therapy when you are supposed to seek therapy. I really do not think that it is easy for all of these people that are connected to the crown. They may always appear with charms and smile because they were trained to do so, but they may have a whole lot of burden inside. The ones born into this role completely have no choice as against those married into it, because the latter may decide to walk away at any time if the heat becomes too much, but the former cannot walk away from their family and forget easily. You can see how Harry is struggling. In one of the interviews, he actually said that he would be happy to connect with his brother again, because you can't just walk away and feel the same. It's not easy. This pair is a typical depiction of what happens across families worldwide today. It touches across many aspects of family issues that can sometimes be so overwhelming, traumatic, and challenging. If you have siblings, I'm sure you can relate to some aspects of Harry's book. The gravity of your own experience shows how you react to his, because in as much as everyone will have stories to tell about their family or siblings growing up, sometimes it's very different, and how it is dealt with comes very differently too, and may have consequences either positively or negatively. Finally, some survives it while it destroys some. Siblings rivalries, betrayals, busy parents parenting styles, inequalities, etc, etc, etc. All this tends to reflect more in a broken or single home circle, regardless on how rich or poor the families may be, or regardless of if you are a man or a woman. Harry is the spare, Prince William the heir. According to Harry's book, he is substitute to Prince William in case something happens to him. That is what the spare means to the royal. And he was reminded this from the time he was born. He grew up being treated differently from his elder brother because he is to take the throne. He accepted it. So I feel that it is natural for him to feel jealous sometimes, because if you are constantly being neglected when you need attention, it happens that sometimes you will feel jealousy. This is why parents need to apply wisdom. In my own analytical thinking, I imagine, what if in the long run the heir happens to abuse the privilege they have against the spare? Do you not think it will affect the spare? I am just asking. Note, I am not trying to say that Prince William was somewhat selfish or at some point, mischievous with his brother, because it was not narrated in the book exactly his own part. It was only Harry's own opinion. So this is just my own analysis. So assuming he happens to take advantage of his position as the beloved king in the making to abuse his brother, which I am not saying happened, it's assumption again, do you not think it will mentally affect Harry further as the spare? So following this aspect of the story, I now bring it into my review, how it affects us and how it applies to families across the world. In Harry's book, it is called the spare. In our own normal world, it is called favored child, favoritism. You don't have to be the bearer of the crown to get this in the family. This is predominant in most African families across the world, where they select one of all the children that they birthed and love more, care for more, and give more attention. This is fact. Giving them preferential treatment, whereas the less favorite ones are being treated like helps, strangers in the families, neglected, talked down on, etc., etc., etc. I wonder if they learned this during colonization, because there were many cultural and behavioral transfers that happened back then. I'm just wondering, this favoritism syndrome can be endured by the child while growing up. If things takes turn along the line and the child notices reverse reaction by the parents loving them and providing for them accordingly, everything becomes normal. But what if when the favoritism continues up until the children becomes adults? This may result to severe consequences, such as feeling of resentment, hate, lack of confidence, bullying, anger, etc. This may lead to pursuit of happiness in search of answers that they never had. If you read Harry's book, you can realize that at the beginning, he understood this spare and hair thing. It was okay for him. But as things started unfolding, things started happening, he started thinking deeper inside it. And this is what exactly happens when parents do this segregation of favoritism or spare and hair thing, however you choose to call it. At some point, the child will start thinking deeper into it, depending on what kept happening around him as he is growing. And this is what happened to Harry. And he now started questioning so many things. At this point, they are most predominantly likely to be taken advantage of by strangers. Here is where abuse comes in at early stage, drugs or whatever that evil people may introduce to them. In Harry's book, he narrated his own consequences, which led him to sexual abuse, use of drugs like cocaine, excessive weed taking, which he found it like it should be normal. This also will increase frictions between siblings. Siblings friction was also pointed out in the spares too, where people started raising eyebrow like, why is he gonna include such thing like his frictions? It's normal. Siblings rivalry is something that is found in all families. It's not a big deal. Apart from the fact that I do not like the way Prince Harry made Prince William look, the way he narrated the story, I would love to ask, have you ever been junior to a mischievous senior sibling? Well, until you experience that, then question Harry's feelings that led him to include things like that in his book, because he may have his own opinion why he added it. Now, bringing it down to all of us, I do know that it's okay for siblings to have rivalry, fallout, fighting always, saying mean things to one another. It's normal, but it becomes abnormal when it keeps repeating itself when they becomes adults, because they are no longer those innocent children, because whatever they say or do is from their heart. And that is where issues get out of hand in families. And this actually points me also at the part of the book where Harry mentioned that Prince William also told him to seek for therapy. So meaning that the whole circumstances that led to this fight might not really be the way Harry perceived it. Remember that the heir received lots of care and attention more than him. Therefore, the way the heir processes issues is obviously different from the way the spare processes issues. This is because this pair is already vulnerable and emotionally fragile. Caution needs to be applied in the use of words and actions around him. Otherwise, he will perceive it completely differently, regardless of if it's true or not. On the other hand, others may view it differently as well. This applies to everyone in his position. To all of us, we all know that adult siblings rivalry is a very difficult matter to dialogue. It is hard to tell who hurt who and who did not hurt who, except parents and people around their lives intervene honestly without taking sides, or they naturally mature to honestly dialogue their differences, agree and disagree, apologize, and then treat each other with much more respect and get over things. Thorough work on both sides needs to be done for both to be able to cohabit. Therapy is highly recommended at this juncture. Harry mentioned in his book that when he had circumstances with Meghan told him to get therapy. And like I said before, Prince William also told him to get therapy. And eventually, he got therapy. I want to believe that the result of the therapy is the product of this book, and that is the reason why he is able to be very vulnerable, open up, and say everything as bare as he left it in this book. On the flip side, senior siblings, be kind to your junior siblings. Even if your parents are not equal, not treating everybody equally, play your part to not follow that path. Observe your siblings, show love and emotion, have empathy, understand that it is not good to be in their shoes. Have conversation with them, help them in their weaknesses, because they will sure help you too. Suppression of feeling is very bad, especially when being treated differently in the family, because at the first it may seem normal, until at the long run, at this point, they becomes even more vulnerable, spitting out both things meant for private ears to the public because they have lost trust. It is too much in their head. They are feeling choked. They cannot have it either ways anymore. This, I believed, is the situation Harry found himself, according to his book, that led to so many unwarranted things you read in the book that kept you wondering, really, did he seriously include these too? Such like the frosting pennies. Of course, I don't want to go into the frosting pennies thing because I think you really need to buy this book. Read it, that way you will enjoy it for yourself. Me telling you the story will not engage you with the book. My advice is buy this book. You will love it. If you don't want to buy, you can borrow a copy from Amazon and read it, because every bit of this book impacts, teaches a lesson, and opens your eyes to some things that you shut your eyes to. So when he talked about his frosting pennies, the reason why he talked about it is not because he wants to overshare. It is simply because he wants to clear the air. Is it clear the air about the fact that his pennies and his brother's pennies had always been all over the news, even at the point that people were imagining if they were circumcised. You see? So this is why it sounds like oversharing, but it is not oversharing. Again, the oversharing can come because at some point when you put so much in your mind, it depresses. So when you are vulnerable, you need to let it out. You need to just speak it out. And this is the problem we are having in so many African homes, because when you listen to people's opinion, when people were being asked about this book, so many African people will say, oh, it's family matter, they have to sit together to talk about it. But what if you are not able to talk about it with your family? Do you have to suppress it inside for it to kill you? You need to speak to someone. So when circumstances like this happen, don't start blaming the victim, because you don't know how much they have suffered before they were able to start speaking out like wildfire. As you can see in Harry's book, he started suppressing all these emotions from his childhood. Suppression of emotion is very bad because when it explodes, it cannot be tamed. The wildness happening in the individual's mind blows out like wildfire. This happens to so many men and women. Parents, please be cautious. It is completely bonkers, useless, this idea of favoritism. Many parents of today still do this. You need to stop it. It is wrecking the lives of so many children, especially in Africa. Stop it. It is not fair to anyone. Finally, let's wrap it up with busy parents' parenting style as it comes across in the book. I will use the part of the book where he wrote that he was sent off to boarding school at the age of 9 years old. My question is, but why? Many parents still do this today due to busy schedule. At that age, your child still needs to be under your care, to be observed. But in his case, well, he was under the care of some matron giving him a wash till he was 13 years old. Because he is a prince, isn't it? This is part of what comes to him as part of the royal. So they have to give him a princely treat. Because of a little bit of modernization, he had to be taken to a boarding house. But ordinarily, in the olden days, he's not supposed to leave the palace, but somebody still have to wash him, cream him, put on clothes for him. That's royalty thing. That one, again, maybe that's where Africans borrowed it, or they borrow from Africa. I don't know who borrowed from who. Like I said before, there's a lot of cultural and behavioral transfers that happen during colonization. So another part is the part that he believed that his mother is still alive and that maybe she is hiding somewhere from the press. She's gonna come out and, you know, they will escape from the palace. Whatever it is that was going on in his mind. His birthday was 2 weeks after the death of his mother. And when he was about to, he said that when he was about to blow the candle, when he was at school, he was asked to make a wish, and he wished his mother was still there, was still alive. And then Auntie Margot got him an Xbox, which she told him that his mother got it for him. So maybe this will be part of the complication that kept him thinking that his mother is still alive. But the fact that no one noticed that he had not really properly grieved means that there is a communication gap. It also points to the fact that he had always wanted to leave the palace but needs ally. Before Meghan was introduced to him, she then becomes his escape ally. It also shows how his state of mind was never considered, that he was always at aloof on a memory lane that nobody understands, imagining things by himself. So otherwise, a child in that state of mind shouldn't have been sent back to school just 2 weeks after the death of his mother. He shouldn't have been sent off to boarding house at all with that state of mind. The icing on the cake, when he returned home at the age of 28, he said that his stepmother had turned his room into her dressing room. Come on, like, he said there was 50 rooms at Balmoral. 50 rooms. So out of all the 50 rooms, the one that she could choose as her to turn into her dressing room is Prince Harry's one. Are you for reals? You can imagine at this stage what will be going on in Harry's head. Now, let's bring it back home to us. Non-celebrities, ordinary people like us. How much do you, as a parent, consider it necessary to take your children on a journey to understand the issues they see happening around their own family? Whether it is death of one of the parents, infidelity, breakups, divorce, rumors, etc. This may seem as though it does not concern the children, that it only affects the parents whom are directly dealing with the issues, but it's a lie. Harry's book is now an evidence of what had been. depicting how these issues affect children 100% and start playing out more vividly when they get older, and the necessity for it to be talked about at all levels. Whether monarch or no monarch, celebrity or no celebrity, famous or no famous, this happens to everyone in different ways, more than you can think or imagine. Sometimes I believe it is easy for parents to lose sight and not realize that they are applying favoritism, but the children always know this. When they mention it to you as a parent, listen to them and adjust, please. Because the impact of parents' action on their children, if no one honestly points them back to watch their actions, may cause huge impact on the family in the long run, just as we see in this book. Parents' own personal issues of life, especially when not properly managed or them not getting proper help to heal when needed, can often affect their children's mindset. However, I believe that considering having a conversation with your children from time to time, despite your busy schedule, state of mind, or whatsoever, can help to reset and bring your brain back. That way, you can be able to help yourself and help your children, then mitigate issues that touches the heart. Constant conversation and communication is king. To me, this book is more of a revelation of what is happening in families today that is often being downplayed than Harry just trying to set the record straight about all the things media had spread around about him. It touches all the areas you can think about: mental health, ignorance, miseducation. In fact, it took him a journey to learn and unlearn. Some people say that he never took responsible for his actions. No, if you really read the book, you will notice that he really did take responsible for his action. The way he sounds is the product of the way he was brought up. But then inside that way he was brought up, he is constantly putting in lots of work along his journey to become a better person. And that counts a lot. That counts a lot. And that is the reason why, in as much as you need to leave children to explore, no, you still need to guide them so that at least they will have a better aligned path to the journey they are taking and be more aware of what they are doing. Media is another basic point that he pointed out in his book, which needs to be talked more about, because parents involve children into these flamboyant media things without thinking about the consequences or the effect of what media causes to them. Because of the constant shine of light in their face, they try to live the persona that they don't intend to live. Some become adult before they are even adult, against their will. So all these needs to be addressed. I hope this review makes a difference to you, and I hope this review opens your heart to few things that is happening around us that is being neglected, which this book shed light into. Feel free to share with us who is the spare or who is the most favored one in your family, what you are doing to make sure that you do not repeat that cycle of favoritism in your own family or currently in your life. And also tell me if there is a major lesson that you learned having witnessed this issue of favoritism or mental health in your home. If you enjoy my review, do not hesitate to hit the like button, and if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe, and please share this review. Share so that this message of hope and change will spread to so many other people. I would want to take this opportunity to say thank you to my old subscribers. Thank you for always watching and supporting this channel. I got your back. You got my back. Thank you. And to all the new subscribers, thank you. You are welcome here. You won't regret it. Make sure to check out our website, read our blogs, because the blog post of this article is way much detailed than this video. See you in the next one next week. Love you. One love. Bye bye bye.